An unimaginable moment finally surfaced. At the prestigious Paradise Art Night event under the world's spotlight, Taehyung suddenly wished Jungkook a happy birthday in front of the public, making the atmosphere instantly turn silent and tense. That simple greeting seemed to pierce into the heart, not only for Jungkook, but also for millions of fans who witnessed it. A big question immediately arose. Why did Taehyung choose such a huge moment to deliver a birthday wish to Jungkook? Why not on another occasion? And why with such an emotionally emphasized tone? Armies around the world could not hold back their tears when the camera showed Jungkook's reaction. He appeared unable to stop crying, as if holding a burden that could not be explained in words. Those tears were not just emotional tears, but an outpouring of feelings that had long been tightly buried. Every drop of Jungkook's tears became a symbol of questions that had never been openly answered. What actually happened between him, Taehyung, and the great dynamics that had always pressured them? The fact that the birthday greeting was delivered at a prestigious art event, which usually consisted only of formal words and tributes, raised suspicion that Taehyung's action was not mere spontaneity. There was a hidden message deliberately conveyed to the public. Yet, what did he want to show? Was this a form of resistance against the boundaries that had long restrained him? Or an emotional signal that Jungkook holds an irreplaceable place in his life? Far beyond just a colleague in the group, Jungkook's unceasing tears sparked wild speculation. Many believed that he was not just touched, but truly moved because direct birthday greetings were so rarely given personally on a grand stage. That moment seemed like a public acknowledgement that their relationship could not be separated so easily. But was it really so? Or was there another dynamic deliberately concealed all this time? Taehyung's gaze when wishing happy birthday became undeniable proof. His voice trembled, his expression was full of strain, as if he was releasing a huge burden right before the public. Armies who noticed this detail immediately realized that the sentence was not spoken lightly. On the contrary, there was a deep meaning deliberately inserted. Why did it have to be at Paradise Art Night, an event filled with major figures of the art and cultural world? Why did Taehyung choose such a huge stage to deliver such a personal message to Jungkook? For many, that choice was no coincidence. He knew that the greeting would create a huge wave, crossing fans, media, and even circles that had long tried to keep them apart. By wishing happy birthday at such a prestigious forum, Taehyung seemed to challenge the narrative that had always wanted to separate them. Armies were trapped in a whirlpool of uncontrollable emotions. Yet, it was Jungkook's reaction that strengthened all speculation. He did not just cry briefly, but truly never stopped, until his face turned red and his eyes swollen. The camera capturing that moment made armies around the world scream on social media. Those tears were not ordinary tears. They seemed to carry a message that Jungkook bore something greater than just being moved. Was this relief because at last the birthday greeting came from Taehyung on a grand stage? Or was it pain because the words were spoken at such a risky moment? Within hours after the event, clips of Jungkook's tears and Taehyung's greeting went viral. Heated discussions spread across platforms, questioning the real reason behind the act. Some armies believed that Taehyung deliberately opened a new space for the public to see their closeness, as a symbol that no matter what happens, Jungkook holds a special place in his life. Yet, others felt there was something more complex, perhaps linked to massive external pressure that had long restrained their relationship. Why couldn't Jungkook stop crying? Did the tears come from emotion, or from fear because the truth was beginning to be revealed before the world? Did Taehyung intend to send a hidden message that their togetherness could not be destroyed, even with many forces trying to separate them? These are the questions now haunting armies' minds worldwide. Furthermore, Paradise Art Night was not an ordinary stage. It was a gathering filled with influential figures from the worlds of art, culture, and the global industry. Taehyung's decision to wish Jungkook a happy birthday at such a huge forum raised serious questions. Did he deliberately choose a moment that could not be controlled by anyone? Was this a subtle way to show that something needed to be revealed to the public? This emotional context cannot be separated from the long history of their relationship. Jungkook and Taehyung had long been portrayed as close friends, but their closeness was always subject to speculation. full of dynamics and often trapped within unclear boundaries. Thus, when Taehyung suddenly wished Jungkook happy birthday on a stage under the world's spotlight, all old narratives instantly collapsed. This was no longer just ordinary closeness. There was something deeper, something deliberately hidden from the public eye. Armies who cried with Jungkook realized that this moment was not something small. Those long tears reflected something much greater, as if an old wound reopened, or a burden finally found space to be released. Jungkook could not stop crying, because perhaps behind that short birthday greeting lay feelings he could never express himself. Now, the biggest question lingers. Is this the beginning of the long-awaited openness? Or a signal that a greater conflict is becoming harder to cover up? Armies are torn between emotion and fear. Emotion because the birthday greeting finally came with such meaning, but fear because this step might trigger greater tension behind the scenes. Whatever the reason, the fact that Jungkook cried endlessly and Taehyung wished him happy birthday at Paradise Art Night will be recorded as one of the most emotional moments in their history. A moment not only changing public perception, but also opening a space of speculation that may never end. Is this a confession? A resistance? Or merely an outburst of emotions that could no longer be held? No one knows for sure. Yet armies are now faced with the reality that Jungkook's tears and Taehyung's words have opened a new chapter that is far more intense, full of questions, and unpredictable in where it will lead. Examined more deeply, Taehyung's birthday greeting at Paradise Art Night was not merely politeness or ceremonial small talk. The greeting became a symbol showing how strong their bond was beyond the stage. Armies who had followed their journey from the start knew exactly how Jungkook and Taehyung often shared small moments of closeness, from simple jokes to support in difficult times. Thus, the birthday greeting delivered openly on a huge forum became an affirmation that their emotional intimacy never disappeared, even though challenges and distances were deliberately created. Many fans believed that Taehyung's reason for choosing that moment to wish a happy birthday was because he wanted to show deep appreciation for Jungkook, not just as a group mate, but as someone who had accompanied him through adolescence to adulthood. There was respect and closeness beyond professional limits, a bond built through a long journey together, perhaps hard to understand by outsiders. This was what made the greeting so meaningful and caused such a huge emotional impact, especially on Jungkook, who immediately drowned in tears. Their harmonious relationship was also reflected in how Taehyung placed Jungkook in a special position. By wishing happy birthday at an event witnessed by an international audience, Taehyung not only greeted his friend, but also indirectly reminded everyone that Jungkook could never be separated from his life narrative. Armies caught this signal as a sign of genuine and consistent closeness, even though they rarely showed it explicitly in public. This closeness was not something new. From many past recordings, it was clear that they always had warm body language, smiles that appeared effortlessly, and small attentions often unnoticed except by observant fans. So when Taehyung consciously wished Jungkook happy birthday at such a formal forum, Army saw it as the peak of a long emotional journey. He seemed to say to the world that no matter what happens, Jungkook remains an irreplaceable figure in his life. The question now hanging is, why at Paradise Art Night? Answers emerging from various Army analyses were that the event had strong symbolism. It was not just an art party, but a stage witnessed by the world's influential figures. Thus, the birthday greeting became more than a personal salutation. It became a statement strengthened by a huge context. For armies, this explained why Jungkook could not hold back his tears. He seemed to realize that Taehyung dared to place him in an important position, even before people who might not understand their closeness. In the end, the greatest reason why Taehyung did this was clear. He wanted to show that their relationship remained harmonious and close, despite many trying to obscure the truth. Armies realized that the simple greeting was an act of courage, a reminder that their bond was not just an image or stage act, but an emotional reality that persisted. The birthday wish would always be remembered as tangible proof of the closeness of two figures strengthening each other, behind all pressures trying to separate them. Yet behind all the euphoria, the most fundamental question that must not be ignored is, did this event truly happen as it appeared, Or was it merely a construction deliberately built to create a dramatic effect for the public? We must ask firmly, was Taehyung's greeting to Jungkook born of pure sincerity? Or was it packaged in such a way to create hype that later became global media consumption? Were Jungkook's long tears truly born of emotional surprise, or were they part of a prearranged narrative? This question matters because the whole moment reached us only through video clips, recordings, and narratives circulating on social media. Shouldn't we be more cautious in accepting pieces of information that might already be edited, cut, or even given additional narration by certain parties? TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and various other platforms became spaces of this story spread, but can all of that be used as absolute truth? What if the real reality was completely different from what millions now believe? In a critical framework, we must question the motives behind the moment. Why was the greeting done at such a huge event like Paradise Art Night and not at a more private opportunity? Was it truly a friend's spontaneity, or was there a hidden purpose to test public reaction? If so, then was Jungkook's crying also part of a strategy to steer opinion, or was he truly unable to hold back his emotions? On the other hand, we must also ask, who benefited the most from the spread of this moment? Did it solely strengthen the image of a harmonious relationship between Jungkook and Taehyung, or was there a larger commercial interest behind it? Global entertainment media had often proven to use emotional surprises to increase attention, clicks, and consumption. Were we, as viewers and fans, unconsciously trapped in a game designed to control our reactions? We must also consider a more provocative possibility. Was the moment entirely staged? What if Taehyung's greeting had been planned to create a marketable closeness narrative? What if Jungkook's seemingly sincere tears were merely emotional fragments exploited, so the public would believe in a grand drama behind the scenes? Hadn't the entertainment industry often wrapped reality with layers of emotion to create shock effects? Certainly, it is not easy to answer all these questions. Yet this is why we must remain skeptical. Were we truly witnessing pure truth, or merely swallowing the results of editing, narration, and framing by parties with certain interests? Did armies cry because they witnessed genuine facts, or were they actually being led by a media narrative full of sensationalism? Moreover, we must consider the impact of blind belief in this event. If it turned out the moment was merely a marketing strategy, then were the emotions of millions manipulated for commercial gain? Wouldn't this threaten the integrity of the relationship between artists and their fans? What if the real truth was the complete opposite of what we believe now? Were we ready to accept the reality that what seemed sincere might actually be illusion? That moment was indeed full of emotion, but we must keep asking, emotional for whom? And for what purpose? If it was sincere, then the feeling would live on in fans' memories as something authentic. But if not, then all the tears and emotions poured out were merely part of a stage created deliberately. At this point, we as spectators are required to have intellectual firmness. Will we allow ourselves to be victims of constructed narratives, or will we choose to remain critical, skeptical, and not easily deceived? It is also important to understand that information about this event still came from social media and several entertainment news channels, whose credibility is often questionable. So, was it wise to immediately believe the circulating narrative without further verification? What if all of this was merely a hoax wrapped in convincing visuals? What if fans were actually being directed to feel something that ultimately only strengthened others' agendas? Questions like these may sound cynical, but they must be our center of reflection. We must dare to admit that every piece of information we receive may hold hidden motives. Were we truly witnessing a sincere friendship between Jungkook and Taehyung shown on an international stage, or were we only watching another performance designed to manipulate feelings? Were we ready to risk our emotional credibility to believe in something whose truth remains unclear? In the end, readers themselves must answer this. Are they truly certain that the event was real, or are they beginning to realize that the entertainment world is always filled with manipulation, framing, and sensationalism? Are they capable of holding back from swallowing whole every circulating story? Or will they continue to be swept away in the flow of narrative without leaving room for skepticism? This is the reflection we must take from this emotional moment. Not merely seeing Jungkook's tears or hearing Taehyung's greeting, but questioning what we actually witnessed. Fact or fabrication? Sincere or manipulative? Real or hoax? Each reader is now faced with a choice: to simply believe the circulating story, or to test every detail with common sense, skepticism, and deep critical reflection.